A very good day to you all. Welcome to Asake Online. My name is I'm the communications officer for the Dabengwa Foundation. So today we're bringing you the Dabengwa Gukurahundi webinar series where we'll seek to unpack and find solutions to the Gukurahundi genocide. What can be done to attain true healing and reconciliation to the victims of Gukurahundi? So our topic for today is Gukurahundi genocide, 39 years later since the genocide. What needs to be done to attain healing and reconciliation to the victims of Gukurahundi? So our speaker for today is going to be Zenzele Ndebele. He's the director for Center for Innovation and Technology, as well as a journalist who has been doing a lot of research around Gukurahundi over a decade now. Without wasting much time, let me hand over to Mr. Zenzele Ndebele to give us this webinar series. Mr. Zenzele Ndebele, over to you, sir.
I'm not sure whether it was your network or you were just speaking too fast, but you sounded like you really moving and
I think it's my network, sir.
Yeah. Anyway, good afternoon, Brighton, and afternoon to those who have joined us. Like Brighton has said, my name is Zenzele Ndebele, and I'll talk about Gukurahundi this afternoon. When Brighton has been talking about this webinar for quite a while now. I think it's been a year or so, and I kept on, telling him stories and trying to, hope that he was going to get someone to talk about it. But finally, I just said, I'll offer what I think and what I have, because talking about Gukurahundi is not always easy. And the topic of today is what needs to be done to attain healing and reconciliation of the victims. So this is not an easy task. And what is said when we talk about Gukurahundi is that we are talking about something that happened almost like 30, 40 years ago. No, it's nearly 40 years now. And we are asking ourselves what needs to be done. And for me, this is the question that was supposed to be asked by maybe in 1987 when they signed the Unit Accord. This is something that was supposed to be asked in the early 90s when the issue was still fresh with the victims and everyone else who was involved. But unfortunately, 38 years later, or 39 years later, the issue has still not been solved. The issue is still fresh. And we are talking about it now. So when I was reading around and researching on this talk, I opened Breaking the Silence, the report which was produced by the Catholics on the Machiavellian disturbances. And what I found very interesting was on the second page of Breaking the Silence, there is a letter, a pastoral letter, or it's not really a pastoral letter, but it is a message by the Pope on World Peace Day. And the headline is Offer Forgiveness and Receive Peace. Truth and Justice, Prerequisites for Forgiveness. So this was a peace, World Peace Day message, which was delivered by the Pope. I think it should have been on the 26th of January, 1997. But there are a few lines that I found very much interesting, and they read, when lies and falsehoods are sown, suspicion and division flourish. This is very powerful and quite true when it comes to the issue of Gukurahundi. Then it goes on to say, political or ideological manipulation are essentially contrary to the truth. They attack the very foundation of solid harmony and undermine the possibility of peaceful social relationships. And what we have seen over the years when it comes to the issue of Gukurahundi is what the Pope was talking about. Lies and falsehoods, which have created suspicion and division amongst our communities. What we have seen over the years is political manipulation when it comes to the issue of Gukurahundi. Whenever there is a big election, Gukurahundi becomes topical. So people are politically manipulated to hope that, or to believe that something is being done, so that they become at ease. And at the end of the day, nothing is done. But that political manipulation that we are talking about has prevented peace. It has prevented social relationships, peaceful people to coexist in communities in harmony and peacefully, because people are being manipulated. They are not being told the truth. They are not being given the space to tell the truth. So when it comes to Gukurahundi, we need to attain healing and reconciliation, because 38 years later, we still don't have reconciliation. We still don't have peace. Although some people think that 1987 was an attempt to have peace, and other people will tell you that Gukurahundi was solved in 1987. And I think what we need to acknowledge probably is that in 1987, in pursuit of peace, Joshua Nkomo signed the Unity Accord, which said nothing about the victims. There is nothing when you read the Unity Accord that in no way is the word Gukurahundi mentioned. And no way is the victim of Gukurahundi mentioned. But we all know that the reason why we had the 1987 Unity Accord was because there had been violence, there had been genocide, atrocities, and then the parties sat down to negotiate. But when they agree to coexist, when they agree to form one party, nothing is mentioned. And it is clearly because Nkomo pursued peace at the expense of justice. He signed the Unity Accord because he felt like people were dying. So this had to stop. But what is also interesting in this Unity Accord, which is signed at the expense of justice in order to bring peace, is that on the ZANU-PF side, or on the government side, the government pardons those who were involved in the abuses, in the atrocities, in the crimes that were committed in Matebele. So the army, the CIO, the 5th Brigade, they are pardoned. The dissidents, they are pardoned. So we also have to make, sometimes when people talk about the issue of the 5th Brigade, we need to realize that there were a number of crimes that were committed by the dissidents. So there were killings that were documented. And then the question we can ask ourselves then is, who were dissidents? And that is the debate for another day. But dissidents killed people. The 5th Brigade killed most of the people. So the government of that day and the army of that day, it was a collaboration. So it was not only the 5th Brigade. Back then, they still had different teams. So the police were involved, the CIO were involved, other branches of the army were involved. But these people were pardoned for their human rights abuses. So what kind of, when people say, Gukurahundi was dealt in 1987, you ask yourself, but what kind of settlement is that? Which only forgives the perpetrator and not the victim. And it says nothing about the victim. And one thing that is clear when it comes to the issue of Gukurahundi is that atrocities were committed. A genocide was committed. Massacres were committed. And even if you are in government and you don't want to use these words, you say disturbances happened. And you then ask, what were those disturbances? And it still leads to loss of life, loss of property. So for all fair-minded or all people were involved, no one denies the fact that the 5th Brigade led to loss of life. We can argue about the people who, number of people were killed or all those kind of things, but there was loss of life. There were atrocities. There were disturbances if your government aligned. And we all agree that something wrong happened. And that something wrong that happened is then you realize that it was not just a disturbance when the government then decides to pardon them, because it is aware that one point or another, these issues are going to come at play. Someone is going to ask, and someone is going to ask for justice. So why not just pardon them? So I realized that over the years, we now have, people who are coming up, and whenever they want to get favor with ZANU-PF, when they've signed the contracts to create publicity around and tell ZANU that we're going to, apply lipstick to your atrocities history, then people come and say there are no atrocities that happened. They come and say no one was killed. No, only this, there were also this. But the government acknowledged the atrocities by pardoning those who were involved. Why would you pardon people if they did not do anything? Why would you pardon the army if they had not committed any atrocities? So it is clear that the 1987 peace comes at the expense of justice. And normally peace and justice should go hand in hand. Forgiveness and justice should go hand in hand. Even in the Bible, we talk about justice and forgiveness. So you cannot ask the victim to move on and forgive without the perpetrator asking for the forgiveness.